What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about how to modify the flasher relay in your 2007 to 2013 Toyota Tundra. If you want to install LEDs in your truck, that's great. You put them in, and then you get this, the Hyperflash. A lot of people decide to instead put in one of these, resistors, which you just put in line with your flasher wiring. Problem is, these get very, very hot, over 200 degrees, and can melt wiring, and they're not safe. Otherwise, again, you get hyperflashing. Well, today I'm going to show you how to modify the stock flashing unit in these trucks. Now, you can't just put in a new flasher module. They're built into the truck. So today we're going to modify it to allow it to not hyperflash and give you safer turn signals or safer daytime running lights that are brighter and instant on. And really every car should have LED turn signals and line speeds. They're so much safer and so much brighter than standard incandescents. So let's get started. For this project, you will need a soldering iron, a manual or impact ratchet, 0.15 ohm resistors, wire cutters or nippers, flat-bladed screwdriver, small one preferably, 10mm deep socket, a magnetic arm to retrieve small nuts or bolts that may fall while disassembling the dash, needle nose pliers, and a 5-inch extension. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the plastic nut normally located here. When I bought my truck, it was missing, so it's not here. This whole panel will need to come out. To make things easier, you probably want to go and pop this up because this lays over the panel. So, get that out, pull this out, set it aside. And then you have all of this wiring right here. But you don't need to worry about that wiring because we're not here for that. What you're here for are two 10mm nuts. One here and one here. Now, my brake controller might get in the way a little bit, but if you don't have this, don't worry about it. But for now, just remove those two nuts. With those two nuts removed, go ahead and pull down the kick panel assembly. I usually like to grab around here and here. Just kind of let it hang loose. What you're looking for is right in here. It's a black box with a white plug plugged into it. If you're having trouble finding it, turn on your emergency flashers and then touch. You should feel it click. So it's right here. That box straight ahead. To successfully remove the box, you're going to have to remove the bracket. That's that bolt right above it. Use a 10mm deep socket on a 5-inch extension to remove it. At this point, you're going to want to pull on the wiring harness to get it off the bolt stock. When it becomes loose, go ahead and unclip the harness by depressing the leftmost tab. It's out. And then manipulate it and move it around to where you can get the box through the existing wiring. This should be what you're pulling out. And I was incorrect, it is a gray box, not a black box. Begin by unclasping these black tabs on each side of the flasher unit. This will expose the internal circuitry. Set the black tabs aside and withdraw the circuit module. What we're interested in is actually on the other side of the board. These are the sensing bars. These are the resistance for the 4 turn signals on your truck. What we're going to do is replace them with these. These are 0.15 ohm resistors from Amazon. The link to these, if the Amazon product is still available, is in the description. But we're going to take these and replace them on this board and take these bars out. The best way to do this is to not actually desolder it from the points on the circuit board. What we're going to do is take about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch off of each bar, remove the bar, and then solder these in place. So I've broken it just above the solder point, the contact point. Do this 4 times. Okay, so we now have 4 stubs basically to work with. The line on these ohms is way too long, so we're going to cut these down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and bend them to the where I want them to be and then cut from there. And it's still a bit too wide. Basically get these to the point where they can sit with enough solder and up to where they're not making contact with the board. Okay, as you can see, I've already gotten 1 attached. Basically I've cut it to about this length, which is about the same height as the white clip. You got to make sure it does not extend over the green PCB board, otherwise when you put it back into the housing it won't close correctly. Another tip, since I'm having to do this with a job that needs 3 hands, put a little bit of solder on the bottom of each of these things and then touch it and warm up the contact here, and they'll get stuck as it cools. And there you go. Both resistors are installed. I'm going to go and push this one down a little bit in a second to make sure it's flush and does not extend past the top of the board and the plug. And here you can see the finished project. I am by no means the best solderer on earth, but they are secure. No wiggling, no movement, and there's a decent amount of solder on each contact point that'll keep it in place even with a little bit of heat. So, at this point, you're going to get your case, slide it back in, verify nothing sticks out next to the plug where your resistors are. Get the clip, slide it over, and it only goes one way, so I didn't get it that way. And it's ready to reinstall into the truck. The very first thing you want to do is you want to reconnect it and test to make sure this has been successful and it works. Now, a disclaimer, this is only for 4-way LEDs, so you have to replace your front and your rears. If you only replace your fronts, this will not work. So I have LEDs in both the left front and left rear. I just wanted to stop right here and emphasize it is absolutely critical that the Zevo bulbs be put in the front of the truck, and the iBrightStar projector style are in the rear. I can't advise what will happen if you use different bulbs than what I did, but when I had the Zevos in the rear and the iBrightStars in the front, it would hyperflash when the headlights were on and the engine is running, because there wasn't enough current draw coming from the front bulbs when they were half lit up. So the Zevos have to be in the front, and the iBrightStars have to be in the rear. Works, and it has a good pattern, good timing. Super bright, very safe. Now, to show you what happens if you only replace your front or rear LED only, you'll get this. Nothing. You'll see it just flash once. So, you are required with the 0.15 ohms to install LEDs front and rear, which, why wouldn't you? It's safer and it's more efficient, and the bulbs will never burn out because they're LEDs. At this point, install the box back onto the frame with a 10mm nut, reinstall your kick panel up, securing with two 10mm nuts, and then put your side plastic back on.